Hi guys, welcome back. Today we'll be looking at the factors contributing to evolution. So these can be primarily classified into two categories. One is environmental or ecological selection and sexual selection. In today's video, we will be primarily looking at environmental and ecological selection. There we go. So there are four major factors that contribute to this type of selection and therefore evolution. So there is natural selection, as stated by Darwin. There are four kinds of natural selection that we will look at. The first is directional selection. This is formed when one particular trait is favored in a population. This leads to a change in the population pyramid towards that trait. More species having that particular trait will be favored, and therefore the population of organisms with that particular trait will increase. The second type is stabilizing. In this, the population which has the maximum value will continue to assert its dominance. Thus, the pyramid will be narrower and more, and the population in the middle will have a higher value. In disruptive selection, both the extremes will be favored. This generally happens due to a drastic change in the environmental or feeding habits. And finally, the last is balancing selection. This can be caused due to two factors: heterozygote advantage. Heterozygous, as you know, is one dominant allele and one recessive allele. An example of this is malaria and its relation with sickle cell anemia. So sickle cell anemia is a genetic condition in which the red blood cells are slightly disformed. The malarial parasite cannot survive in these sickle-celled anemic red blood cells. Therefore, it provides individuals that have a heterozygous condition for the red blood cells to be favored over individuals that have either a dominant sickle cell anemic condition, which would cause them to perish because lack of oxygen, and a recessive trait would lead to malaria, because this trait is generally present in African American communities, because in Africa, traditionally, malaria is a very fatal disease. The second aspect of balancing selection is the overexpression of one particular phenotype. So if all the organisms in a community have a certain type of phenotype, over time, the advantage that this phenotype gives over other individuals gradually decreases. An organism with a different kind of phenotype, which is not harmful to the organism in any way, will assert its dominance. The second type of selection is genetic drift. It can be better understood by this meme. So genetic drift, you see populations will be forming their own population instead of living in a pre-established population. This can be of two types: the bottleneck effect and the founder effect. They might look similar from the diagrams I've drawn. Basically, a small group of species gets separated from their parent group and they establish their own dominance somewhere else. Bottleneck effect is formed when the parent population is wiped out due to a natural disaster. Only a few surviving individuals will be able to survive, and they will establish a new population. The new population naturally will lack the traits that were not present in the parent population for this new population. Founder effect, on the other hand, is formed when organisms are geographically separated by from their parent population. This can be seen when migrations take place or a small number of organisms are separated from their population due to natural events. This will lead to a similar result as seen in bottleneck. The traits present in the individuals that form the new population will be overrepresented in that population. The next method is gene flow. In this, two populations exchange individuals and therefore alleles and traits. So it's like organisms are flowing from one population to another. It is important to notice the difference between genetic drift and gene flow. That's why this is where the meme comes in mind. In gene flow, populations are still living in a pre-established population. However, whoops, oh God. However, in genetic drift, oops, I guess I messed up, gene flow. And in genetic drift, the population drifts towards forming its own population. The last is mutations. After all, these new traits need to arise from somewhere, and it is mutations that is how this change takes place. A mutation is basically a change in the hereditary material. You can find more about mutations in the video, whose link will be in the bio. Now, the theoretical allele frequency of any population is given by the Hardy-Weinberg Principle. In the next video, we will be looking at the Hardy-Weinberg Principle and understanding sexual selection. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know.